Hello, and welcome to the Play Button, episode 3. Today we're talking about some pretty exciting stuff, I think, anyways, because I don't know a lot about it, but I know you all do. So, why don't we start with some introductions? So, I'm Fortuna, and we have Cloves, Esette, and GSD. So,
what up?
Do you guys know the topic for today already?
Yes.
Yeah, so...
Let's start a record label!
Yeah. So, yeah, this is a really awesome... really awesome topic. Anyway, let's start with some backgrounds. Like, what are... where do you fit in? Where do you come from when it comes to running a music label or being a part of one? Dan, let's start with you.
So I was the label manager at Homebreaking Records and Punch Out Recordings for 6 years-ish, from 2006 to 2013, somewhere in there, kind of. So, yeah, I don't know. It's all a blur.
You lose track of time?
It's all a blur.
Yeah.
It's just raves after raves.
In raver years, that was like 1700 years ago.
Yeah, it was 1700 rave years ago.
It's true. A season goes by and it's just a whole different... Yeah.
We've gone through 77 different rave lords since then, so we don't even know.
Rave lords.
Nice. Awesome. What about Isis?
So I run Substation Recordings. We are just about to hit our 5th year of operation. I do the A&R for the label as well as the marketing. And I also am an artist myself, so I've released on a number of different labels internationally and locally. And
Nice.
so I've got a bunch of different experience coming out from a few different labels.
Right. So you have some experience being on both sides as an
Exactly,
artist
yeah.
and as a more label operator.
Exactly.
Awesome. And then Crystal.
I am a co-founder of Obscure Music, based out of Vancouver. We kind of focus more on some deeper, darker techno, the more European style. I do most of the management / admin side of stuff. My label partner, Emirates, DJ Nomad Black in Vancouver, does most of the graphics and the marketing and all that kind of thing. I'm not very good at that part. So
She's really good at it, though.
Yeah.
I love her graphics.
Instagram,
Yeah, she's
Right.
lots of followers. Like, I don't have that many.
Yeah. But you each have...
yet.
But her
Yeah.
artwork is great. It's really
Her
good
artwork's awesome.
Nice.
And we've been running for almost 2 years, started as a podcast, and same as Isis,
Yeah.
I've been on both sides.
Right.
Releasing as an artist on a number of labels, and then, looking at and running the back end of things.
Awesome.
So.
Yeah. That's awesome. So, yeah. I, myself, don't have any experience running a label, being a part of one. But as an artist, I know what it's like going through all these, websites and local communities and, word of mouth is like, hey, there's this new label and we can put you on here and we can add you on there. And it's a pretty exciting process to have a release somewhere that's not just your Facebook account, So,
Yeah, for sure.
We're going to ruin you after this. You're going to be like, I'm starting a record label.
Hopefully, yeah. So, yeah. Well, before we get into the kind of, the juicy stuff of why you might, why you started the record label, what kind of person, do you think you have to be to even get started? So let's start with Crystal this time. So what kind of personality, what skills, or...
There's a lot of commitment. So you definitely have to be a committed person to do this kind of thing, and passion for what you're doing. If you're in it for the money, good luck.
Yeah?
You're not going to be Tiesto overnight,
you do
sure.
it for the love.
Yeah. You got to do it for the love, because there's not a lot of money in it. And I don't know, I probably spoke for everyone here on that part. Yeah, that's my 2 cents. That's what I think.
That's
and
fair.
definitely marketing skills for sure, because you definitely have to, especially in an age now where social media and the internet is such a big part of doing this kind of thing. You gotta know what you have to know what you're doing in terms of social media. And
fair.
Yeah.
Do you find you have to be out and about a lot, like stay in the loop with local events and
totally.
Yeah.
Especially networking and that kind of thing. Talking to people, getting the word out, that definitely helps too.
Yeah.
So
cool. Nice. Why don't we go over to Isis here?
So a lot of what you said is I agree with completely. I would say that you need to be the kind of person that's a little bit fearless in how you are approaching people, and not just people in your city, but you need to be able to walk into a record store in New York and be like, check out this thing that I do, and be really fearless about it,
Right.
and not be worried that people are gonna reject you, because there's a lot of rejection in the music industry, as we all know.
Yeah.
Being extremely organized, I think you need to arm yourself with actual knowledge about marketing and your genre too. Like you need to sort of really look at yourself and say, like, am I an authority in this area? Because if you're someone who doesn't know anything about techno and you're trying to run a techno label, it's not really fair
Right.
to your artists. I think it helps to have a bit of an understanding of the music industry, what the different roles are.
So how your artists put out their music, or how people are buying music.
I think understanding a little bit about copyrights, and just a bit, even just if you start there and get a little bit and you accumulate more as you go along, it's starting out with some kind of knowledge about it, I think is good. Like, I think you need to be the kind of person that's going to put in the time to prepare something before just like launching, because a lot of people are trigger happy, right? I think there's tons of people that are like, I'm doing a label.
Yeah.
That's
They got a
that's
name,
it.
they got
Like,
a
cool.
picture.
They've got their branding and everything, but like they don't even,
Yeah.
they've never played a DJ gig, or if they've never made a track, or they don't even have a friend that makes records.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like they're just gonna run a label. And I think you just need to be a really personable person in some senses. Not always. Like some label owners are not personable, but they are people that you can approach in some way. Whether it's like approachable by email, approachable by Facebook, approachable in person.
Right. Wow. Sounds like there's a lot of hats you need to wear.
There is a lot of hats.
Yeah.
You're going to a birthday party and you're wearing all of the hats.
You're wearing every hat.
All the hats. Yeah.
Wow. So what kind of hats do you have to wear, or do you think you need to wear, Dan?
I would disagree a little bit with these two. I don't think you need to be nice. I don't think you need to be...
We're talking to Dan.
Dan Murray, everybody.
No, seriously though, like, I think to be successful, the most important thing, like, anybody can start a record label.
No, it's true.
And like, for every label that lasts for 5 years, there's 20 that put out one record and never did anything else again.
Yeah.
You know, like, we distributed some other labels through our labels, and it was, a release or two, and then someone went, why am I doing this? This takes so much time and it's so much work, and I'm over it. And
There's
I go,
a stat,
totally.
1%. So like 1% of record labels that are out there will sell more than 10 copies
That's
the track or the release.
Wow.
So when you think about when you go on Beatport, just even Beatport as a digital platform, and you think about every day you've got 2,500 releases going out or something, and you think that only 250 of those records are going to sell more than 10 copies in their lifespan, like, that's a big percentage of failure.
Totally. And like, that's the thing. Anybody can do one.
Yeah.
But to be successful, I think really you need one of two things. You need to have a really good ear and be able to find really good music that other people are going to enjoy as well and buy. Or you need to be a social wizard, whether that's like in today's age, it's totally different than when we started. There was no Facebook, there was no Instagram, there was none of this stuff we had to do. It wasn't a thing, right? Like, I remember we had an argument for 3 hours one night about starting a Facebook group, like,
because it was weird at the time.
it was weird.
Yeah.
I was like, are we doing that Facebook thing?
When
or not?
SoundCloud came out, I was like, guys, we gotta get on this thing, and they're like, but we have MySpace, why would we do this?
I bet you the Homebreak and MySpace is still up.
It is, and it was popping. The Homebreak and MySpace was popping.
Wow.
It was pretty great.
But that was the thing. It's like, I think you can be really successful as well putting out really bad music. But if you have your social media and marketing and all this game, like, down packed. Like,
so I just have a
really good
sub-question.
music or really good abilities.
Yeah.
Like, if you're really, really lucky and you have both, you're gonna kill it.
Yeah, be
Right.
really good.
You're done.
Yeah, so
like, it's good. Congratulations. You're the new XL.
Yeah.
Would
No,
you
totally.
guys agree? And then maybe because you are talking about running a label in this, like, I would call it the the generation before our labels.
Yeah.
And I think our advice is really coming at it from like a digital only platform
Yeah.
type advice. But I think what you're saying is bang on for a vinyl platform because
We started out as a vinyl only label.
Yeah, yeah,
Right?
and-
Our
and-
first 6 releases were vinyl only.
Ooh.
I really feel like vinyl only labels or vinyl labels in general just like there's a different set of skills you need to have.
Oh yeah.
To have a
You need money too.
yeah,
That
yeah.
was
The
the big
first
thing.
skill
We had money,
in running
yeah.
a vinyl label is you need some startup coin
Yeah. And be prepared to lose all that too.
a couple times and then maybe gain it back.
Yeah.
Homebreaking did pretty good
We did great, but we
because
also
your records were great.
the records were good, but it was also at the time when people were still buying a lot of dance records. We could put out a 12-inch every quarter and sell out,
Wow.
right? We could
It
sell.
still happens.
It still happens now, but like when we stopped, there was the big dip.
The dip,
There was a big dip.
2008.
Yeah, like in the late,
Interesting.
what do you call that? Decade.
The late,
Yeah.
Dude, I
The
call
late
it the
early
Great Depression of
2000s.
2008.
Yeah.
The late early 2000s.
The market crash.
The
Yeah.
market crash of 2008.
Yeah, so like we put all of our back catalog on digital, and we started only releasing 1 or 2 records a year because we were losing a lot
Yeah,
of money
yeah,
on
yeah.
vinyl.
Yeah.
That's so interesting though, because you know, when you think, a lot of people think of a record label, they might think, okay, we're putting out this music for average music listeners to buy. But it sounds like you're also selling a lot of music to DJs, right?
For what we're
Yeah.
all doing, yeah, it's
Yeah.
the majority of it. I think is for DJs.
We're not putting out music for people to listen to.
Oh, yeah.
It's like not as like a hey, I'm just gonna cook or I'm gonna cook a squash right now and listen to some
Totally.
long intro house
Right.
music in
I
the
would,
kitchen.
but that's me.
But that's
Yeah,
not,
yeah, yeah,
we're
yeah.
also DJs. It's a little,
yeah.
we're listening to tracks because we're
Yeah.
like shopping for music and we're
Yeah.
also trying to like
Yeah.
learn cool stuff.
These are DJ record labels.
Totally.
Like,
Yeah,
what
yeah.
what like to be just to clarify, what we're talking about is not for, the general rules can apply to any kind of label, but all 3 of us ran or are running DJ focused record
Yeah.
labels. Music
Interesting.
by DJs for
For
DJs.
DJs.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, yeah.
So it's like when we were making music, the records we were putting out, like we'd listen and be like, "Oh, like dude, that needs a longer outro." Like
Yeah, it needs-
nobody's gonna be able to mix out of that. If it's
Right,
like that.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Or
Like
beats.
it's very specifically
Yeah.
for other DJs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all about that industry then, just catering and working around that, right?
Mhm.
So interesting.
But I think that's important, knowing your audience.
yeah.
Right? Like
Yeah.
if you're running a hip hop label, you don't want to be marketing to house DJs.
Techno.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Yeah.
you don't want to be putting your Facebook ad revenue dollars into, targeting
No.
Crystal because she's gonna be like, I don't care about this.
Exactly.
Right?
White
Yeah.
noise.
Wow, fair enough. So okay, so we talked about some maybe requirements of getting to where you are now. So
Also, I think you need to be nuts.
a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
A
So-
certain level of naivete and just
Yeah.
being a little bit crazy because it can be so rewarding, but it can be so frustrating
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and so annoying, and you'll hate your friends,
Yeah.
and you don't want to go to parties anymore, and
I don't know what kind of time you had.
So,
I enjoyed it.
This is why Dan was finished his record label career. Like,
but you know what? Every single time, like
Let's-
every time there was a release date, it's the best day ever.
You're
Like
right,
every
yeah.
single time you put a new
Yeah.
record out, you're just like,
Yeah. Well, once you deliver the goods, everyone's happy.
Yeah.
Everyone's
Yeah.
celebrating, and yeah.
and
You-
it charts if you're lucky, and the
Yeah.
artist is like, this is like so happy, and
Yeah.
it can be very, very fulfilling.
No, that's awesome. Cool. So, well, what if I wanted to start my own record label?
Don't.
What? Yeah. what would I need to do though? Because obviously there's a few requirements beyond your personality that you need to fill out on the internet now, right?
Mhm.
So what do you recommend, Dan?
This is the curveball, yeah.
I'm gonna
think-
pick on you because I know you're not on the running the digital labels now.
Well, I think something that was and is the same is distribution.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's no point in signing a record. There's no point in paying for mastering. There's no point in getting artwork made up
or branding or anything.
or branding
Right.
if nobody can get your new record. So,
Yeah.
like, whether there's so many different options now. I just downloaded an app I'm going to be looking at for, it's a self-distribution thing. It's just an app on your phone.
Yeah.
So like that kind of thing didn't exist. We went through 3 or 4 different distribution companies at the labels when I was there. And yeah, people need to be able to get your music.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of options. Some will work better for others.
Right.
I would say that's one thing.
And it's important to know with distribution too that, like you said, there's a lot of different models. So you've got models where you can pay a distribution company a flat rate for the types of services. So like I can pay them $20 to put my track into online stores, and then I can add another X amount of dollars to get them to put them into streaming stores for a certain amount of time. Or you can, there's even services out there now where you can pay to host the tracks by the month. So you can literally go from one service and have them only hosting it for like 6 months. You can do a Bandcamp label where you are in control of your own distribution. Essentially, you don't sell it on Beatport or iTunes or stream it on Spotify, but you can have it being downloaded where you're capturing the metrics and getting the money directly into your account. You can also get vinyl distribution where you're dealing with a big distributor. There's also the P&D kind of vinyl deals, which I think are much less.
You got to be pretty big time.
They're not really around as
happen.
much. But one really cool vinyl model that I think is really awesome, and I think this model is probably going to be a bit of the future for artists that are kind of self-releasing and trying to do self-starting, is the sort of pre-order crowdfunded type of label model. So like if you've got a sick record and you're like, cool.
Yeah.
You basically, these companies will allow you to, if you can pre-sale 100 copies of this record, they will put it out and send it to all your people that bought it. Just like
that's so awesome.
Because you don't do anything; it costs you nothing.
It takes all of the risk out of it. Like I think that's how even big artists. Like I think that's how De La Soul, you know, who are one of the biggest hip hop artists ever. That's how they did their last record was a Kickstarter campaign.
Yeah.
And it's like, boom, here's the money up front.
Yep.
You have the music done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
it's amazing. Like the fact that something like that can exist now is so dope.
And if you're really connected socially, and you do have that following, whether you're an artist or like just a startup label or whoever, you know, if you can pre-sell 100 vinyl copies of any record, like you're doing really well for like a vinyl label. But it gives you that platform, that option. Whereas when you order, as you know, like a bunch of vinyl, sometimes you sell like, oh, I just ordered 500 copies, and you sell 100 copies, and then you're literally dragging around 400 records for 12 years trying to get rid of them at every show that you do ever, and you're just stuck with this record.
I see bands, friends who are in bands, and they're like, the band breaks up like 10 minutes after their record arrives.
Yeah.
It's like, how are you going to get rid of those 500 7-inches now?
I was just going to say that's a big problem for like the indie bands still today. You know, they're printing a million cassettes and, you know, CDs and vinyl as well.
But cassettes is like even a new thing. Like there's a label here in Calgary, Inner Ocean, and these guys are doing limited cassette pressings of like 10 or 25.
Yeah.
I love their social media. I love like people who are into their music collect them, like baseball cards, you know,
and they're
like
pretty cheap. So
it's
and they're
super cheap,
pretty too,
and they're really pretty. It's
colors.
like they're making something that's interesting, and that seems to be big in like the lo-fi instrumental hip hop scene. Like I've seen quite a few labels doing that, but I think they're doing it really, really well.
Nice.
That's cool.
Yeah, there's so many options
So
now.
many
It's so different than it
and
was
you can
15
free-release.
years ago.
You can just free release. There's lots of like there's actual labels that just put out stuff on SoundCloud.
Oh,
and
I
seem to
see
do
what you
really
mean,
well.
yeah.
And there's also labels that will go through distribution and put it out for free on SoundCloud. So
Yeah, so there's a lot of options then, yeah. It's awesome that we have, I think, a lot of lower risk options now as well, because again, I've been in bands that have had like CDs and stuff just shoved in a corner, and we're like, well, and I know of bands that have too many things in the backlog and they break up, and you're like, so and
what are you gonna do with those now?
And it's not it's not just CDs or vinyl.
Merch,
It's the merch, it's the shirts. It's kind of heartbreaking.
It's bad for the environment. That's what you should really think about when you're like getting merch pressed. You're like, am I part of the problem?
Limited edition
Substation t-shirts out of a t-shirt cannon all summer long.
Yeah.
I'll just be doing that
Totally.
all summer long.
So, Crystal, did you have any other?
They covered the distribution part, but I think too another big one is working with the right people.
Oh yeah.
I mean, like I said in the beginning, you have to be really committed to what you're doing, because the last thing I want to do is work with someone who's lazy and just is there for the ride.
Right.
Also, someone who's really good at the marketing, social media, branding kind of thing also is really helpful, especially now in the internet age where that sort of thing is really important. So that goes back to working with the right people and so that you're staying on the right path.
Totally. Yeah, it seems like a smart business decision.
So like a
just
team.
like any business, really.
A team. You need a team.
Yeah.
What was your team like?
Our team was great. Like when we were at our peak, there was 5 of us working on the label. We were doing weekly Skype meetings. We had all of our tasks delegated. We'd get in some pretty heated arguments about just direction or what we thought we should be doing.
On your MySpace page.
This was a little post MySpace. Yeah.
I don't even know if these kids know what MySpace is now.
I mean, you should look it up. It's pretty funny.
But that's the thing, like if you look at just the trajectory of where the label went, I think somebody could go in historically and see when we had the most people doing the most amount of stuff, just because everything was on point. We were putting out 2 records a month. We were putting out a record on each label every single month, a digital release at least, and I think we were doing 2 or 3 vinyl releases a year, and that was a lot of work. Like, that's a lot of artists to deal with. That's a lot of mastering to pay for. It's a lot of artwork to get done. But
what were the roles, the job roles?
Just lots.
Yeah. Like, you mean, okay, I'll just tell the job roles, not the people who are doing them.
No, yes.
So, we were all really doing A&R. So, there was 5 of us trying to find new music, which was the most important thing, with finding good records, finding good remixes.
Maybe if someone doesn't know what A&R is.
A&R is
artist and repertoire.
And repertoire. I didn't even know that.
But it's a common industry term, right?
Yeah, it's a common industry term.
Yeah.
I was like, that's the guy who talks to artists and makes records good and makes people happy.
Yeah.
So I actually took the lead with that, with like dealing with the artist. So I was the one who was always, someone's like, how much money did I make on my release? And I was going through the numbers and sending them sheets and da-da-da-da-da, which I always took really seriously because, like we said before, I felt we were a DJ run label by DJs for DJs, and so I tried to treat artists as the way that I'd want to be treated, right? So there's a lot of labels where you're like, how much money did I make last month? And people will be like, don't worry about it. We'll talk about it later, or da 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 da. Just people can be really slimy, and people can straight up steal money from you.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And
or they'll tell you the truth, and they'll be like, well, you made 10 cents.
Well, you know what? If you show somebody that they made 10 cents,
at least
they'll be like, okay,
job,
you're being legit, right? But
so A&R.
There was A&R, so we were all doing A&R. Thank you. There was artwork. We had a design guy that we paid who was external from the 5 of us for all of our artwork. There was doing the distro. There was mastering, which we did in-house. Sometimes mixes were getting done in-house.
Oh wow.
There was the website, which 2 of us were working on all the time. That was updating the website with new releases, news, blog, trying to do blog posts every day. There was the social media, Facebook. We only started doing Instagram right at the end of my time. Twitter, we have a Facebook group. There was dealing with the licensing. So one of our guys, he had worked for a licensing company, and so that was a way we were trying to diversify the revenue, was getting stuff into films and movies and commercials and things. There was,
I think that goes back to
there's a ton of stuff.
Yeah, working with the right people, because obviously it's a ton of hats to take on, and I guess like in my case, there's only 2 of us, so we split that many hats between the 2 of us.
Same with our label.
And even with 5 of us, things fell through the cracks.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot that we haven't even done yet.
In reality, we should have been booking tours for artists that we had from outside of Canada coming through Canada. We should have somebody just doing booking. We should have had someone who was dealing with non-social media marketing a lot more. That was a huge thing that we blew it on all the time. Like we were bad at sending records to blogs and to magazines and to getting artists to do interviews. Like we were
even the radio, even just sending it to CJSW.
I don't know if we did that once. You know what I mean? Like easy things like that.
There's a lot of things you have to keep not just organized, but like always flowing, right? Like this operation management type of thing where everything needs to be moving, and if one thing falls through, it's just complicating.
Yeah.
Well, and if you're starting a label just so that you can release your own music, I would say don't start a label. Just release your own music and view it like your own artist thing. Because I think a lot of people do that. They start labels so that they can have like a facility to put out their stuff, but then they go through the whole process of trying to run a label on top of running their career. And I often see, and this includes myself, like artists that just get so involved in that side of things that they really lose sight of managing their own career. And I think that it's important to acknowledge that you don't necessarily need to run a whole entire label when all you want to do is put your track on Beatport, because there's avenues to do that without doing all that other stuff.
If you want to be an artist,
be an artist.
Be an artist. Find the people who can do all the stuff that you don't want to do for you. Like a team, it's kind of cliche, but it's true. Big, huge, successful artists in any genre have a team around them who are doing things, We put out a remix by a really big DJ once, and he wanted us to use his mastering guy, right? No matter who he was releasing with, he's like, and we said no because it was so expensive. But, like it was team, manager, like I was saying, a good label should be doing a whole bunch of things for you, right? Like if you're with them exclusively, which I'll also add, as an independent electronic artist, you should never sign an exclusivity deal with anybody ever.
Not as an artist.
We should talk about contracts maybe a little bit.
Because
contracts from both sides can be really
that's another thing I didn't even bring up.
Substation. I mean, this is not really a common practice, but with Substation, I sign artists' tracks on. We only own the copyright. We don't own the publishing rights, so we allow the artist to manage their own publishing rights. But I actually sign the records on for really short periods of time. As an artist, I've gotten contracts that vary in term from like 5 years to infinity, which I think is completely absurd in the environment of digital music. And I've been signing shorter and shorter term contracts with our artists, like 3 to 5 years, or even sometimes less, because if our job, I recognize that our job as a small label and a local label is to help these artists build a platform for their career. If they take that opportunity to really use it, by the time they get 5-6 years into their career, and they want to re-release some of these great records that they put out on a bigger, louder platform that's going to amplify them as artists, I don't want to be the one standing in their way because of some contract on some little rinky-dink label in the middle of Canada. You know what I mean? Do you know what I mean, though? It's just like, if Crystal blew up, and then that techno remix she did for us, or the techno track she did for us 5 years ago, was like an asset for her. I'd rather see her be able to use it if it wasn't going to serve her on our label.
That's a really good name for a label. Rinky Dinky Records.
There you go.
Somebody can take that.
Rinky Dink Records.
You mean it's not taken already?
Let's do a quick
if you are running Rinky Dink Records, please
holler.
Hit us up. We all want to put music out for you.
I got some heat for you.
Oh my gosh. So that's a really good question, though, because obviously, a lot of artists may kind of come and go, but some artists, stick with it for a long time. And like you said, as an artist myself, I've looked back at some work I've put up before years ago, and I want to remix it, and I want to do stuff with it again.
Make it better.
And it can be tricky if you're locked in a contract. And then from your perspective, you probably don't want to start making exceptions for one artist and then...
No, you totally can.
You can do situational stuff, and some artists literally look at their previous work as like That's in the past. I don't really care about it.
Mm-hmm.
But then, I've seen I have different friends that have done really great work like on vinyl, and their copyrights didn't lift for like 10 or 12 years, and finally now their copyrights are getting lifted, so they're actually able to take control and re-release them, and those records for them are worth way more to them now than they were then.
Even if one of our artists came up to me and said, hey, like, this label approached me and they really liked this track or something, or I want to give them this track that was released on our label like a year ago or something, I wouldn't hold them back. Even if they did sign a contract, I'd be like, you know what, just like rip it and take it.
Renegotiate.
Honestly, even if they did it and they didn't approach us, spending all the money on fees for if you wanted to get a lawyer involved, it's just not worth it.
No,
it's not worth it.
No.
And I'd rather the one thing too is you guys have probably noticed on Beatport when it's like, oh cool, like my favorite guy producer like put out this new track, and you're like, oh, that's just another re-release of that same stupid record. And it's like 17 re-releases by different labels. So all that's happening in that situation is I'm contacting Crystal and being like, yo, can I get the rights to put out this track on like my compilation? And then you get 17,000 things. But the royalties that the artist is getting and the royalties that you're getting as a label are basically non-existent. And it's not even worth the conversation.
We licensed a few things. I remember Ministry of Sound licensed
that's a big
remix once. Yeah, and it was like it wasn't $1 million, but it was a nice upfront fee, like for the artist and the remixer, because it was a remix, and it was like, hey, we like this tune, we want to put it on this summer compilation. Yeah. Can we? Yeah. And we're like, we'll give you X amount of dollars. And the artist and the remixer were like, yeah, free money, great.
Nice.
Cool. So they didn't have to do anything. It's a song they already had put the work into.
Yeah.
It had already got released, and it was just like a bonus.
Yeah.
Right?
That's what happened with me and Fabric, actually. Yeah, one of my tracks was already released, and Scuba came forward and wanted to license it for Fabric.
Yeah.
And in the end, I talked to the label guy who it was released with, and he's like, it was such a big opportunity. He just said, just do it. And it was, I got a fee at the end, and it was awesome, and it's still out there, and it's really cool.
Yeah.
That is cool. I think that what you're talking about is a little different than what we're talking about, though, because if...
We licensed it out.
Yeah, you licensed it.
We licensed it for them to use on a single thing.
It's kind of like if you were going to do a commercial or something.
Yeah,
similar type of licensing.
Kind of.
Right?
And it can go both ways, too. Like, we put out a record by an artist from the States, and originally we were going to sign the record to put out. And then they got a new manager, and the new manager was like, you can't sign this record, but you can license it from us. And I was like, ooh, that's really smart.
Yeah.
Because they were kind of blowing up at the time.
Yeah.
And they wanted to own everything. Like, we're going to own all of our stuff.
Right.
But you guys were into this, and you can license it from us to put it out for X amount of time.
Right.
And do whatever you want with it for 5 years, right?
Yeah.
So... that's what we ended up signing a contract like that, which we never did with anybody else, but we were like, this is a really good tune. So
that's awesome.
There's a lot of different options.
Yeah, exactly. I was just going to say there's options for both the label then and the artist to get more exposure or...
get the most out of their contracts, relationships, their copyright and publishing rights.
Yeah.
Like, you can really...
And that also, like, if your track is being released on different labels through licensing, then you're also on different distribution networks, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, theoretically, you could be.
You're supposed to... So when, say, if Dan's label wanted to come back and be like, can I put your track on my compilation? Technically, his label is supposed to give my label a report. Now, that doesn't happen very often.
If that's the agreement. Right. Like when we did it with Ministry of Sound, it was like,
upfront.
We're giving you this amount of money.
Which is a better deal.
We're never calling you ever again.
Yeah. And that,
if anyone says they're going to give you money up front to do anything in this business, take it and run.
Yeah.
More money in it.
Yeah, that's fair. Cool. So that's a lot of good tips for labels. We kind of are getting a good peek into what it looks like to run a label. So what are some tips you might have for artists approaching a label, or how do you filter through your submissions? So why don't I know Dan just went, so maybe we'll start with Crystal.
What tips do you give to people looking to submit music?
Yeah, to submit music, and what are some things that you receive a lot, and when you're filtering through your submissions, how do you...
When you send records out, how do you do it?
Yeah.
When I send records out,
as an artist,
make it personal.
Yeah.
I think we actually received one as a label where there's a bunch of labels CC'd. More than one label. That's not personal, and that kind of makes us feel like, oh, okay, well, this is kind of lame. You know, we're not really on top of their list.
Yeah, did it seem like the message was written to be personal, or?
No, it's just like a generic whatever, and a bunch of labels listed in the email CC section.
It's a really common mistake.
Yeah, don't do that.
Check out my track.
Yeah, pretty much.
Please check out my track is what it always says.
And there's a download link only, and you're like, oh my god.
Yeah. Another thing too, as an artist submitting, I think we have to really follow what they're asking and how they want you to send it.
Yeah.
For example, like you know what?
Criteria.
Yeah.
And most labels will have a specific instructions on how to do it and what to include in your email.
Right.
If they don't do that, like I'm not gonna sift through your website and look for a certain track that you have for download or something.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know what the situation would be, but I don't have the time to do that.
Yeah.
I have other things to do, so I want everything. You know, they would want everything there.
Yeah.
And
It's
ready
like
to go.
Yeah, it's a formatted resume that
Yeah.
you want to receive the same kind of resume from everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I would do.
That's a really good analogy for it, actually.
Yeah.
Think about it like a resume. Like, you know, if you go into a restaurant and you're applying to cook there, and your resume says, I like food, check it out, and then you give them a sandwich, like, you're not getting that job. You're a crazy person, right?
Yeah.
Like, you have to think about how you're presenting this to the person you're presenting it to.
Totally.
Yeah, that's all.
I think it also goes to making it personal too. Like it's a sandwich. It's layers.
But be concise.
Concise, yes.
Personal, concise. Hey, loved the last release. X artist is my third favorite DJ in Canada. Check out my new record. I think you guys would love it. And then there's my new demos, right? And then you have streaming link, so you don't have to download anything.
Private streaming link
and downloadable.
Yeah.
My opinion.
I don't think you should send downloadable things to anybody unless they're paying you for it, personally.
Oh.
But
Interesting.
Yeah, like if I'm not sending, you know, my WAV files to my demos out, like no way.
Yeah, that's
send a streaming link.
But
What?
Yeah.
Oh, and like 128s is what we used to do. I used to tell artists to send out 128s to somebody if you want to send out download links. But and then put your best song first, like 2 or 3 songs, and someone will put like their ambient intro track that's 7 minutes long. And it's like, I'm done. Bye.
Rinky Dink demo version 1.1.
Yeah. Put your hottest fire, your most hottest virus track, like right at the front. Like that's the
fair.
first thing you want this person
Can
to
I?
hear.
I'm just gonna add like 2 more things really quick. Another thing too that I've noticed as well, even as an artist submitting 2 labels, most of them ask you to put like your email address, some sort of contact information in like the ID tags or the name of the song, just because.
That's smart.
Yeah, because you know they get lots of demos, for example, and you could get lost and they don't know your contact info or anything like that.
Right.
And when you're submitting that demo and writing the email, don't write a freaking novel.
And to add, so here's where I disagree with Dan on the download part, and actually this comes from a conversation I had with Richie Houghton when you were playing with him, because there's that thing about like downloaded for Richie Houghton as if it was like a joke, and so I asked him when he was here, is that for real? Like, what's the deal with that? And he's like, no, like I have my artist guy that travels around with me. He literally will download every single promo into a folder.
But promos aren't demos. That's a totally different thing.
No, it is. Demos and promos coming from direct artists and labels and wherever.
Okay.
So this is where I would argue, if you're a DJ, a person, like if you know that the label head is a DJ and you're sending them a promo, chances are I'm not going to sign this record until I play it out and make sure it's not garbage.
And not see what the reactions are.
Not garbage in the sense that it might not be perfectly mastered, but it might not be structured properly, or it might not sound like it just might not work. It might not be like us. So as someone like Richie Houghton and even myself, like I will download the file and I'll test drive it and really see how it feels before I'll sign it for sure. And that's where those meta the metadata really is helpful. Like
Yeah.
the untitled artist is the biggest artist
Track
in the
1,
world.
track 2, track 3, track 4, no
Yeah.
artist.
Yeah.
Like,
Put
no.
all the
Yeah.
details in there for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, that's
yeah,
really
put your
important.
email in the metadata at minimum.
Yeah.
And not every label person's gonna play your records or download them. But I think back to your thing about doing the email and structuring it, I think having the streaming, like obviously the first thing we want to do is hear it, even like to vet it in that way. And
Yeah.
then, you know what? Hey, I want to give this a shot. Like I'm going to click it and see and give it a shot.
You know what? Like, I remember one set of demos I got, and we didn't end up putting it out, but I put it on my iPod and I listened to it like over and over.
See?
Oh yeah.
And
Nice.
over. And I was emailing this artist because I wanted them to change a few things, and they just ended up not responding anymore. I was like, this is so good, but
Yeah, you're like,
I feel
yeah.
like if we were going to release this, I need you to just do a couple things here,
Right.
mix-wise.
And that's fair
Yeah,
as a label
I think
to ask
that's
for
fair.
changes,
Yeah.
you know?
I think within reason, you know, if the label's requesting for you to change a couple little things,
Yeah.
then as the artist, you know, I guess if your ego is too big, then maybe you don't want to. But I
Especially
think
if it's a label that you really like.
Exactly.
Listen to them.
yeah, no, and the label knows what they're like. They know the music. You know, if they've been hosting a set of musicians and songs that you really love for a long time, and they ask you to change a couple things about your drums or whatever, you might want to tweak that so that it kind of blends in with the vibe, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
But
cool.
also, you know, own your creative process and
Totally.
own your work. And like,
Yeah.
if somebody's asking you to, hey, I like this, but I want a rapper over top of
Yeah.
it.
Like,
and you're like, that's not really
Yeah.
what I'm trying to do.
I think it's
You
Draw
know,
the
no-
line
Yeah,
somewhere.
Yeah, you
it's-
need to draw a line. Like if someone's like, I want like this,
A rapper.
the mix on this
Yeah.
these drums is a little muddy. Like,
Yeah.
could you go back in and just clean it up a touch? That's way different
Super
than
fair.
totally.
that's way different than going.
Yeah.
I want to. Let's
No,
get
I
some
like
rock
this melody,
guitars on
but change
here.
your whole song.
Yeah, can you change?
Yeah.
Can you strip out everything?
Yeah.
But leave
Well-
the one cowbell.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
like-
But there's things, you know, like, you know, the producers who use the really bright, piercing hi-hats in every track, and it's a house track, and it's like, my poor ears, please, you know?
Yeah.
So,
I
Yeah.
will say too that because recently there's been a huge surge of people stealing tracks and then putting them
Oh,
out.
yeah.
And actually, one way, so this is just a real like pro producer tip. Before you send any music anywhere, you need to look at the song and look at how long it is. Look at the name, make a name for it, get all the data, and you need to go onto SOCAN and you need to register it as your work.
Yeah.
Because
Hot tip. Yeah.
yeah.
because then, even if it never gets signed, but someone then puts it out, you're protected against
Totally.
copyright. So Dan got my demo, and he's like, "Sweet."
Yeah.
But then we both went quiet for a long time, and he's like, "Now, cool, I'm gonna put this out."
Can't
on
wait
the
to put this
Rinky-Dink-
out on Rinky Dink
Records."
Records.
yeah.
Then it goes out, and suddenly it's like, "Who's this Rinky Dink guy? La la la, that's my song." And then,
Yeah.
you know, you have control because you've logged it in as
Yeah.
being yours at a
And
on a
let's
place and time.
let's just explain what that is.
Yeah,
for
what is
those who
SOCAN?
Don't know. And SOCAN. So SOCAN is in Canada. It's where you register music. So if it's get played on the radio or if a DJ's playing it in a club or something, you are going to get residual payments for the performance of this
Yeah.
music.
Also known as a performance royalty or performing rights organization, right?
Yeah.
PROs. Yeah.
Like in the States, in the
It's
U.S.,
ASCAP.
there's 3. There's ASCAP, BMI,
Right.
BMI and
and
the other one.
some other one.
But there's just every country has one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in Europe, there's every place will have at least one. But
Yeah.
if you're going to be putting music out, like that's the thing you need to do anyways. No matter who's
just have to
signing
do
it,
it. Yeah.
that needs to be with
And that's your
Done.
job, not the label's job.
totally.
Oh,
Artist's job.
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
the label's.
Protect your art, right? Yeah.
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 That's one way you can do that really easily, and it'll help you if you
Yeah.
ever get into a bind with someone stealing your work
Yeah.
from anywhere. Because even if you say you put out a free download on SoundCloud, some whoever guy from Romania could just
Steals it
and
and
put
says
it
it's
out,
his.
and
Oh,
probably
yeah.
you would never know until
Totally.
someone came across it. Like it probably happens a lot more than you'd like to
Yeah.
think.
Yeah. Probably. Yeah.
Rinky Dink
I-
Romania strikes again.
Wow. I have a question though. So on that topic of unreleased music, you know, or maybe you released a track or put it up on a download somewhere, but it's not on a label. So how do you feel as a label operator to put out content that's already out?
Okay, so wait, let's clarify. So do you mean like if I'm the label and I put out your song and then I put out your song on my SoundCloud and then you go and put out the same song on SoundCloud?
No, like
Or
it's already on SoundCloud.
So I'm the artist.
yeah.
I'm the artist, and I put it
No.
up.
Sorry. But
Yeah.
there's two. That can be both two questions.
Totally.
Two valid questions.
I'm the artist, and I put it up for free download. It's been up for 6 months, and now I want
And
you
now
to
you want
release
it
it.
to send. Well,
Yeah.
okay.
It's like double dipping, you know? So
It depends,
yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
I think if you're a smaller artist and it's a smaller label, it could be a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like if it's a bigger label and you're a small artist and you don't really have that reach, I don't know. Maybe it'll be
People
okay.
like Zed's Dead did their whole career like that. So
Really?
there's not really a big. You can. Some labels actually find your track because it's hashtagged with free download, and then they like it. So this has actually happened to someone I know, but they were like, "Wow, we love this record, but can you take it down?" And you're like, "Of course."
Right.
Sign it, and then of course, but you've already had the music out there.
Yeah.
But you're not. They're not looking to you to give them a boost with their label. They're a bigger label coming to you to
yeah,
pitch
they
your
wanna-
music to a whole new market that you have nothing to
Exactly.
do with.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
that can be okay, but as Crystal said, the small thing is tough.
But that's a really important line to distinguish.
Yes.
Is
Yeah.
What you're saying is, I put my song up and it's a free download.
Yeah.
It gets traction, and then someone comes and it's like, we want to put this out.
Exactly, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
way different
Totally.
than putting your stuff up for free download and then sending it as a demo out to all these
Yeah,
labels.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's,
yeah.
that's
Those
a
are two
no-no.
completely
a-
different things.
I'd agree with you.
And,
there
and
for
I
sure.
asked this because a popular platform right now for a lot of producers is Submit Hub, right? So there's all these labels, and no,
Yeah.
you guys
I've never heard of
don't?
it.
Submit Hub's great, but
Yeah.
it's mostly for blogs, I think.
Yeah, there's like blogs, and there are some labels though, and
This is new.
a common there's labels on there, so
Do you
they're
have to
pretty
pay
small.
for it?
You
Because I was
do.
reading about it. Seems like a scam to me.
I think
Not
you
a
have to.
scam.
I have never used it, so I'm not sure.
So
Okay.
okay,
Right.
Submit Hub. How it works is you take your track, and actually as a label, this is a useful tool because they have all these blogs that you might want to be featured on, like Pitchfork or whatever, all these things, and you pay a fee to submit your tracks or your promo, let's say in a label case, to these 12 blogs, and you pay a fee, and if they don't review your track, you get your fee refunded, and if they do, you don't get your fee back. But I mean, we used Submit Hub a few times, and we had great success getting a blogger would be like,
Right.
"Oh, I love this! I want to do an exclusive preview." We had a couple that did.
For Dunmore Park.
It was before Dunmore Park, but they did. One guy was like, "Oh, we'd love to do like an advance like free track download," and we ended up creating relationships with the blogs outside of the platform. So it ended up being
Nice.
fruitful for our label.
Right.
As an independent artist, I don't know.
Yeah, it's
I wouldn't pay it out of my own pocket as a small artist.
yeah,
In my opinion,
it's
I don't know.
questionable.
Like,
Yeah, but
I don't know. As a label, I found it somewhat useful because,
yeah,
gosh, you know what it's like to get blog contacts.
yeah.
On that note, let's take a break.
Awesome. So you guys have some pretty good insight on running a label, getting submissions from artists that send the same email to everyone else. But where are you now with your label? You know, so I know Dan has had a dark past with his label. So where are you now?
I'm
Yeah.
out.
You're out.
I'm out.
Yeah.
I quit in 2013, and I have often thought about starting another one. I've talked to you about it a few
We
times.
talked about it.
And then usually, I think better of it and don't.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah,
That's
sanity
fair.
prevails.
Yeah. So you chosen other
It's-
paths in your life.
It's like I talked about it before. At our peak, there was 5 of us. I'm not prepared to do everything that needs to be done by myself to do it the way that I would like. And I don't want to do something that is going to be, I don't have the time. I don't want to do something that's half-assed and lame, to be honest. So,
Yeah.
That's fair. Yeah.
so I just don't.
Yeah.
I've done that. I did it. It was fun.
Yeah. So you wouldn't think of going back though, like maybe not to your old label, but maybe starting a new one.
No, I wouldn't go back to my old label. I asked ISIS to start a label with me.
Oh yeah.
You need the right people, and I think like I was working with my friends and it was great. But at this point, like I know the type of personality that I would want to work with,
Right.
and like ISIS is that type of person.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know that many people with that. I literally know 2.
Yeah.
and neither of them want to do it. And so
Because
that's
we
it.
know better. Because we're like, we already have one thing to do.
And they know me. So they're
Yeah.
like, no. They're like, if you were a different person, Dan, maybe.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Wow. ISIS.
Well, Substation, we've definitely, pulled it back. We used to do 12 releases a year, and like literally, the track would come out, and you'd be like, "Yay!" and then you'd be like, "Okay," and then you're on the upswing towards the next release.
Yeah.
And I personally got so exhausted mentally, dealing with artists, and then dealing with the promo phase, and creating all this content. And Substation, because of how much money you don't make running a label, like I do all the graphic design, I do all the marketing, I do all the social media, I do the A&R, and I do all the contracts, and I do all the emailing back and forth, and then managing the podcast and blah blah blah. So I was like, you know what, I just can't be bothered. So then in our 4th year, we sort of stripped it back to about 8 releases a year, and then this year we're literally doing, I think, like 5 or 4, and it's great because we can do, on the off months, we can focus on the podcasts and festivals and people playing, and focus on the artists themselves, and really like get music that we really really love. And even though our focus was to release Canadian artists of all kinds, I think now that we're more established, our new focus is kind of like, I need to be absolutely certain that I'm going to actually DJ these tracks before I release them. So like the emphasis is more now on really really tight quality control is kind of where we're at. And I think after 5 years, that's totally acceptable to kind of know who you are as a label and really hone it in.
Yeah. So, and you said you went from how many releases a year to
like
8?
12 or more, like once a month. It was a lot.
Wow.
That's crazy.
It is a lot. And I think there's labels out there that, like Tool Room, that literally will put out a release like every 3 days with 20 or 30 songs. And that's cool. Their model, and Armada Music, their whole model is volume. So they're making lots of money because they're making tons of small amounts of royalties on a huge amount of content. And that's one label model that you can
They also have a big team.
do it. They have a huge team.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like an international marketing team.
Totally.
And all kinds of stuff. So that is one model you can do, though.
Yeah.
Quantity. Like lots of those digital labels, they'll get one record cover.
Yeah.
And they'll slap it on basically every release with the same thing, with a different color background, and then they'll have like 20 tracks coming out.
So we were doing
in-house mastering, and it's just like boom, boom, boom. But you know what? In a way, it makes sense, sort of, because you're making those little bits of money on more content instead of like way less, which is equal to way less money. But in terms of the market being saturated, it's a horrible idea.
Yeah.
There's so much music now.
So much.
Yeah.
Tons. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, Crystal?
We definitely did the same thing. Even though we're new, we stripped back a little bit as well. We went from, I think we started with like 6 or 7 releases a year, and now we're only doing like 4. Literally one every few months. And the reason for that is because it takes a lot of time into putting all the pieces together and making them perfect. And we're so far from perfect. We also want to make sure that we're finding the right music that we actually love. So quality is a thing, and we're focusing on our podcast a lot more, and just branding instead of we want quality over quantity, essentially. And
Yeah.
that's
So whether
pretty
it's
much it.
delivering the quality yourself or waiting for those artists to
and we're seeking artists. We're focusing on female artists or LGBTQ identified artists. We get tons of demos, but like we listen to 1 out of like 10.
Yeah.
Really. So
Wow.
it's just like we're just being a little bit more picky about it.
Yeah.
So
That's fair. I mean, if you want to strive for quality, you kind of have to be, right?
exactly.
See, and like that's when you're. I think that's a really important thing is when you're new. Your quality needs to be really high because if you put out 2 great records and then you put out your 3rd record and it sucks, people are gonna be like, okay, this like it's so important to have that quality control and like
consistency.
And both Isis and Crystal talked about cutting things back, and I think it's important to not overextend yourself at the beginning. Like,
Definitely.
take the time, learn the things you need to learn. Because everybody who starts a label, more or less, starts the same way. Knowing nothing.
Yeah.
And knowing that you know nothing and being prepared to learn those things as those challenges come, I think would be very beneficial to anyone who makes the plunge into label running.
Just to add to adding or releasing more rather than, the quality, after a while too, people just start to lose interest in you if you keep
Right.
releasing and releasing, and there's
Yeah.
the quality is just not there.
Yeah.
That you're off the radar
Yeah.
completely, and
Be
you
picky.
you don't
Yeah.
want to fall off the radar.
Be picky. Like,
Yeah.
there's lots of good songs. Don't put out good songs. Put out fire songs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Fire beats.
Yeah.
seriously, like, if you have a record that's good and you're like, this is good, X person would turn this, they would do a remix and turn this into, like, we're gonna chart with this,
Yeah.
Like, think about what each release needs and only put out the best stuff. Like,
Yeah.
and we put out records that I didn't believe in necessarily, but other people on the team did, and they were sure. We're like, we're gonna sell a lot of this, and I'm like, I think this song sucks, but X person would think it's great,
Yeah.
and sometimes they were right, and it's also being open to that too, going, this isn't my favorite song ever,
Yeah.
but it fits in what we're doing,
Yeah.
and this is gonna sell a lot of copies. Like, people are gonna like this. This is gonna be a big hit at the
Yeah, yeah.
festivals this summer, hopefully, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it sounds like a lot of
Be-
work. Wow.
Be picky, but be open.
Yeah.
Yeah, and be honest with people. If you're taking on too much, you need to pull it back. Be
Mm.
like, look,
Honesty.
yeah, you
100%.
need to be
Yeah.
with your team. You
with
need
your
to
artists.
be really clear and manage expectations with people right from the
Right.
from the get-go.
Yeah. You want to make things crystal clear.
You are not going to become, Armin van Buren with this record. Potentially,
Yeah.
you never know, but really the chances are quite slim. But manage
Potentially,
expectations about
Armin-
what you're going to do with the release and what their responsibilities are with the release. Make sure you manage expectations around promo and you set out clear guidelines about what they need to be doing to help support their own release, and tell them exactly what you're going to be doing so that there's no bad blood, and you create a good relationship that's hopefully a long-standing relationship.
Mm-hmm.
We had an artist that we put one of his records out, and I think he did a couple remixes for us as well. And he was dealing with another label, and they ripped him off. And he went on Facebook and firestormed this label.
It'll happen.
And he's a bit of a nutty guy, and he
wow.
just
Oh.
paragraphs for weeks about F these guys, they're crooks, don't deal with them, da 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 da. And I was dealing with him on our side, and he was actually kind of broke, and we actually sent him some upfront money, which is pretty rare for a small label. He's like, I need some money. We're like, we'll send you a few $100. Here you go. Like, here's an advance.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's flaming these guys, and then in the same paragraphs going, shout out to Homebreakin', shout out to, there was another label he was working with, but like,
For being professionals and
Yeah.
Yeah.
being
Yeah.
being on their side.
you don't want to
Wow.
get toasted on the internet.
No.
For not being clear.
For
that's
being a
such
crook.
that's such a bad way to go down.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Over that.
And it's
Wow.
so easy now.
Yeah.
Like, somebody is mad at you and they have a platform and they're in the mood to blast you on Twitter or Facebook or something.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
that can be
Happens all the time.
be the nail in your coffin. So
Yeah.
be honest, be upfront. If someone emails you and says, hey, what's my payout for last quarter?
Mm-hmm.
If you don't know, send them an email and go, hey, we're still waiting on that from the distribution company.
Right.
We're expecting it next week. Like, follow up with me next week, and like, be communicative. be
yeah,
honest.
yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, don't leave
That's-
people hanging. Don't act like you're hiding. Like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really bad.
it's not
like
fair.
a character flaw
Yeah.
Yeah.
for someone running a label.
Fair enough. Wow. Well, I think that about covers it, guys. Yeah, we've just covered everything from running a label, what kind of personality you need, some of your experiences, dark and good ones as well. So
The
I don't think
darkness.
I'll be running my own label, but
Don't do it.
yeah.
Be an artist. You're
So-
a good artist.
What do you think?
Find a label who believes in your music.
But do you think though, should I, as an artist, be going and uploading my music on Bandcamp, and charging my own fees and dealing with that management myself, or saving my best work for that label? That's my
Oh,
closing.
your call.
This is a great
Yeah.
question
Yeah.
regarding I call it track hoarding, because I know a couple artists, like Neighbor is a great example, like these amazing talented artists, and whether it's because they're not great at pitching themselves, or they don't feel like it, or whatever, they literally they make all this great music, and it sits on their hard drive because they're just like waiting for someone to find them or something. And it's like, in my opinion, this is my opinion, you guys can weigh in, but like, your music's doing absolutely nothing for you when it's sitting on a hard drive. And imagine if your house burns down and that hard drive goes down with it. Like, you've got literally nothing to show for so much time and work and effort and energy. And if you're not actively seeking out deals, then I would say, don't just make the decision not to be doing that and put your music out, like get it out somehow. I know in the past you'd put up, just like works in progress, and like you've had tracks, people find you because you have tracks up. Like having a body of work to show for what it is you're actually doing as an artist, I think is much more productive for you than sitting on a bunch of work. Because you technically, like, your best work should be yet to come. Like, right? Always, wouldn't you?
Always.
Yeah. Always it should be. So, like, if you're not actively, like, putting stuff out, like, let it be a free download.
But that's the hard thing. Like, I'll just speak for myself.
Yeah.
Because I've only ever released a couple tracks on our labels when I was doing them. And I've made, I don't know, 1,000 songs.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't ever put anything out because it's exactly what you just said. And I think that's a thing for a lot of artists, which makes it difficult, is you start a new tune and you think the last tune you made was junk. You start a new tune and you think the last tune you made was junk. You're like, this is the best song I've ever made while you're making it. And then you start the next one and you're like, that last song's garbage. For a lot of artists, there's a fear. Yeah. I'm not saying it's right, but I'm saying it's common, and getting over it, like you said, now, especially with the vast array of tools that are available for you, it's just like you guys said, put music out, release music, and
let it work for you.
Like,
you could be making a couple bucks on Bandcamp.
You finish an EP, you put it up on Bandcamp, you send it to 3 blogs, and maybe your favorite label ever hears it and then calls you.
If you're actively collecting those like, I can only speak for myself, but all my free releases, even the track we did, like, those tracks sit there as free downloads and they accumulate. So, like, even though I haven't released a track in over a year, if you go to my SoundCloud now, like, the stuff's been accumulating: plays, followers, likes, downloads, and those metrics at some point in the future will benefit you.
Yeah.
Those will help you get to the next level. And so it's important for those things to be...
Until SoundCloud just disappears and all that stuff's
but those metrics are not just on SoundCloud. They're everywhere. You can get them
but
elsewhere,
it's the value beyond just like,
it's having a discography, a portfolio.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
And now it is like, there isn't just SoundCloud. Like, you can...
There's so many things.
You can put out something on CD Baby, or
what's that other one?
What's the other one?
I can't think about it right now.
Right, and it's self-distro, it's cheap, and you're going to be on all the streaming sites. And like, let's be real, that's how the majority of people are listening to music these days. You're not going to make $1 million. But I know one artist, and he's really early on, he's like, this is where I'm making money, is on Spotify. And I'm going to stick with that, and I'm going to push. And his label, he's like, let's go. And he goes, he makes a playlist every single week of stuff he's listening to. He's just turned that platform into what he's doing, and he makes his real money touring the world now. Right? But it was seeing in Spotify going, this isn't making me $1 million, but this is the platform
it's
where
an
I'm being
opportunity.
recognized. Right?
And the sooner you get into those things, this platform, someone was asking me about Mixcloud the other day, and I was like, look, whether or not you get 2 or 17 or 1,700 plays on Mixcloud, this is a streaming platform for mixes. It might end up being the only platform for mixes at one point. The sooner you adopt this platform and just get in there and start collecting likes and collecting stats, the better. If you're in it for the long haul, then... those little things should just be running in the background for you doing work. Not it's not like the be all end all thing that you need to have.
No, and I just want to add, like, looking at these festivals that are coming up for summer, it's interesting how every year the applications look a little bit different. They got things like, okay, what's your artist name? Maybe send us a link for your music or an EPK. But now they have, little boxes for your Facebook, for your Spotify, for your Bandcamp.
Metrics, man.
They want to make sure that you're just
doing work.
That you're not just making a Facebook page just because, and then you're leaving it. They want to make sure you're putting effort into your art and who you are.
And they'll weed out the weak ones, I guess. So.
Totally. If you're DJ Steve and you started DJing last week and you're applying for 9 festivals because you like house music,
good luck.
Nobody's going to give you a spot. Nobody's going to give you a gig because you haven't done anything yet. You know what I mean? Like, make a Facebook page, make a SoundCloud account, start. And
building those metrics,
and
start building this stuff up.
You don't even need to do everything. If there's something that you find and you really works for your brain, you know, if you SoundCloud makes perfect sense. Use your SoundCloud and just do it everywhere.
bananas.
You know what I mean? Like some people, like Jeremy Sinistar, you know, he murders it at Twitter still. Like,
Oh, yeah.
such a good
he's
Twitter
so
guy.
he's so good at Twitter. Like
Yeah.
I love Twitter, but Jeremy, he's tweeting every single day, a
Yeah.
few times a day, and it's
Yeah.
that stuff matters. Like
Yeah.
I really
I
suck
signed a
at
record
it.
off Twitter
Me too.
once. You
Yeah.
know, like,
No,
like,
yeah, I've
you-
signed records off Instagram.
You can
Yeah.
like find what works for you, do it. I mean, in a perfect world, do everything. But if you can't, do what makes you
for
Yeah.
sure.
successful. Do what you find like is benefiting you mentally
Yeah.
and giving you that that satisfaction. Going, I'm murdering it. Instagram.
Yeah.
And I just will add that it doesn't, like, the metrics don't always mean that you won't get signed. Like, I'm sure you and I
Right.
both experienced signing artists that are, like, really new, but, like, you hear
Yeah.
their work and you're like, wow,
That's fire.
this
Yeah.
is wicked. I want to buy into this artist at an early stage.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, totally.
That's, you know, it's not always about that. Like, but again, back to
That's-
your point about
It
quality.
helps.
But that's honestly, as someone who, you know, if I'm running a label again, that's the dream person I want.
Yeah, I want that.
I want that young kid who's killing it at Twitter, who hasn't put any songs out, who sent me his
demo,
new demos,
which is
and it's the
awesome.
best thing I've heard all year, and he sends me an email like an adult,
Yeah.
and like that's dream.
Yeah.
That's dream person.
Yeah.
I'm like, I want to put your songs out because
Yeah.
you seem like you're with it, and this is the best thing I've heard all year. Like that's
Cool.
Yeah.
It aligns.
But you take that same kid
Yeah.
and he has no social media, and his email says, "Check me out, dog." Like, you know, then you're like, this song's so good.
Yeah.
Can I turn this into
Can
an
I develop
artist?
this
Can I
artist?
develop
Can I
this?
develop this
Can I
artist?
sell
Yeah, yeah.
this? You know.
You want to think long term, right? You don't want to just do the one-off release with one artist, because if you have a good opportunity to foster that and
In a
you know,
perfect
yeah.
world, you're gonna keep releasing records for them.
Yeah.
Build
right?
a relationship, like I was
Yeah.
saying. It's,
But like I said, if you're that artist, if you're making electronic music, don't sign an exclusivity deal unless it's, you know, XL wanting to
Yeah.
put you on.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
you spread your records around. Like,
Yeah.
put out music on 10 different labels and find somebody who fits with you and who's like, this label killed it, and this song I think is better that I put on this other label, but they didn't promo it, so I'm gonna keep working with these guys. You know, like.
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Don't let somebody own you. There's no reason to do it in this day and age.
That's a huge difference between DJ labels and pop star labels, I think.
Oh yeah.
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 Yeah. No,
I
totally.
don't think I'd ever do that.
Yeah. Wow.
I want to be a pop star. If you want to sign me,
Yeah.
check out my SoundCloud. My Twitter's popping off. Like, I got lots of black T-shirts. Like, I'm
All
ready,
right, all
I'm ready
right.
for it.
Since we're gonna shamelessly promote your social media, what's yours, Dan?
You can find it in the comments. I think we're gonna put Twitters and stuff. Yeah. I'm
Yeah?
not
it's
gonna-
all there.
Okay, we'll put it in the
Blah, blah,
comments.
blah.
Twitters, Instagrams, etc.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks
the
for-
labels. You can find their labels in the hashtag cloud
Ding,
thing.
dong, 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 dong.
Totally. Yeah.
You can find me at rinkydinkrecords.ru.
Dot suck.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
Wow. And with that, see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.